Hello, it's Joyful Hermit, and I'm, thanks to Noah, a fellow hermit out there, I believe a traditional, privately professed hermit, not a diocese one, but he inquired, left a message that I didn't see for a long time, but wanted an update. So it's been, I think, nearly 2 years since I've done a video, but a lot has happened. I'm just going to give you an update of I've had, I think, 4 surgeries since we last saw each other. And I also then had, probably for about 5 years since I was on the island, the latter part of my eyebrows left. And then this last year, I was just totally fatigued increasingly. And I thought that my spinal condition called arachnoiditis, because the arachnoid membrane was slit probably accidentally in a rushed second surgery in 1987 to save my life, because I had died in recovery after 8 hours of back surgery. But anyway, my thyroid had gone out. So instead of thinking my arachnoiditis was causing me to have a massive decline, to that point where I was so utterly fatigued I could barely get up. I finally had to get a couple of dogs to force me to get up. And I had two then, because the one got so lonely and depressed when I would be ill for long times in bed and only able to get up, take the dog out, back in, feed it, but I couldn't play with it or interact or take it for walks. So I got a brother of the dog that was 6 months and 12 days younger, but same parents, but ended up getting huge. So he definitely forces me up early in the morning, because little Mercy is so compliant and sweet. She used to let me stay in until 11:30 at least. And the two of them then play together and exercise each other when I'm not well. So their lives aren't too miserable, but they are uh, the most service dogs I think we could consider having, because they literally caused my paralyzed intestines to turn around a year ago. And they make me get up and keep going, because otherwise my intestines, bladder, and the lower part of my body will become paralyzed. And they still might, but the dogs have forced me to a lot more having to get up frequently. Even when my pain is so bad, I feel like I can't possibly. And it's been a couple of years since I lost the ability of my mind, after close to 39 years of pain, for my mind to overcome my body. So I needed externals to start forcing me to do things, including the renovation of this house, which I do because all that activity and moving around is about the best exercise to keep my body mobile. But meanwhile, the thyroid went out, and finally realized through a doctor who did some blood tests what it was. So I'm on medication for that and have energy back. 5 years ago, I had a knee injury in a store, and they took responsibility, but their insurance company duped me. So I now have a lot of expenses regarding a major knee replacement surgery I had 8.5 weeks ago. Prior to that, 2.5 or nearly 3 years ago, I had an arthroscopic knee surgery, which was a mistake. The surgeon should have said, you really need a knee replacement. So I had the arthroscopic. In that one, I threw a blood clot that went to my lung. Miracle I didn't die. Sort of wished I had. But it has caused increasing scar tissue in my lung and more infarction, meaning the lung has collapsed around it. So I need to go back to see the lung specialist to see Why? Maybe it's an infection around it, whatever. So we got to deal with that yet. And then I also had a hand surgery from an injury, and that was the easiest and successful. The knee arthroscopic really wasn't, because it didn't solve the problem. Yet the surgeon didn't admit it for about 4 months. So there I was thinking something's wrong, and what's wrong with me? That I'm not better. Am I not? I could barely do the exercises because of the pain, because the problem wasn't really fixed. But I went along for another 2.5 years here with the bad knee, getting it drained and injected. And then finally it just got so bad that because I did have some dogs at a dog park nearby run into me right in that knee and threw me into the air and down on the ground. So I had injuries from that, and that made it so I could no longer put off the major knee replacement surgery. See, what other surgery? Oh, I had a pump put in me 2.5 years ago, and maybe I've talked about that before and these other surgeries before. But that caused me to have um, issues being able to eat. So I'm losing weight. I've lost weight. I have no appetite, and which doesn't bother me. I don't care really, but I do need to get more protein and more nutrition, which is very hard when you don't have appetite. Partly the pain is so severe that I have nausea a lot, but also a young neurosurgeon who did the pump surgery put the tube where I asked him please not to, but he didn't listen or whatever when we had the appointment. So he inserted the tube into my spinal dural space, right where my arachnoid messed up clumped nerves are. So that irritated. Plus, whenever you have arachnoiditis and have even an injection in your spinal cord area, the pain will go up in your body permanently. You don't know how much or how little, but it also can cause some kind of unknown neurological effect. And my neurological effect was stomach issues, digestive. I have the symptoms of gastroparesis, but I don't have gastroparesis. But that was the effect from that pump surgery. And so I can eat very little at any time. Nothing tastes good or sounds good to me, but many foods I cannot eat. So that's been an ongoing problem because my arachnoiditis pain increases steadily, but not at any given rate. And I think from this knee replacement surgery, with the pain being so severe, more than what I thought it was going to be, you can't anticipate it, but I was told I needed to extend my leg. It's my left knee. And with a back patient with a terrible lumbar problem, and I'm fused up through the L2, but my L1 has already started to disintegrate. That caused my lumbar to be in excruciating pain. So I was dealing with terrible back pain the first week or 10 days of after my knee replacement on June 20th, and interfered with my being able to do the exercises because the knee exercises irritated my spine and caused more spinal pain. Plus, I was under medicated. My pain doctor and I hadn't considered, and the surgeon also, that a normal knee patient going in would receive a certain amount of pain medication to handle the knee replacement pain. I already am on pain medication in an increased amount, not only the pump, but also for my severe neck. My neck has become very severe. And my upper back, plus the knee pain that I've had for 2.5 years, or actually longer. But so I was on that medication, but I actually needed more to make up for what I would need for the surgery for the knee. So I was in quite a mess for a couple of weeks there until my pain doctor and I realized, and he got me on more medication. So, and then also, this I just found out on Thursday when I went to the knee surgeon, who is a type of surgeon who likes to do his surgeries, but he's not interpersonal with patients. So the only person I saw after the surgery, and in fact right before the surgery, and 2 weeks after the surgery, so in the hospital and 2 weeks after, was a PA, a physician assistant, who I must say is a rather bombastic person and doesn't want to say that he's a PA. He doesn't even introduce himself. He wants to be thought of as the doctor. He's got a little bit of narcissism going, but he lacked information. So I finally see the knee surgeon 8 weeks and 2 days after my surgery as a finale. It was ended up being. He did X-rays, which I should have had when I saw the PA. The PA should have noticed my knee and symptoms of my knee, which was bulbous, taut, tight, but everyone says, well, most knees are swollen. However, turns out my knee wasn't swollen with fluid. My body somehow had created so much scar tissue that turned into fibrous tissue, fibrotic tissue, that I ended up now having a permanent situation with my knee that's very painful and stiff and hard to move. So I don't have good fortune, I guess you would say. For whatever reason, God doesn't let me have successful surgeries, particularly. Other than the hand surgery went well. Um, it's sort of beyond what I can deal with sometimes, except I know that the Lord has something in mind. He's either wanting to move my life in some way, my temporal life, my physical life, or have me have to unload the house project I was working on because I'm very low income and I was using what I had left from the island house and what I had left from a modest inheritance to get this place and to then use the manual labor, which I have learned has helped me so much to distract from pain. And I can go into this other mode when I'm working on simple manual tasks, framing windows or whatever it is. I can't lift them anymore, but get someone to lift them in, or painting, or taking out a wall and putting in a half wall. I had been able to do those things up until a year ago, and it was very helpful to my body to keep my body going so I wouldn't be paralyzed. And also then, when I was finished, I planned to sell the house and I would have some money set aside for my end of life care. Or when I do become paralyzed, I will need someone to take care of me or do errands or whatever. Or such as with this surgery, I've paid quite a bit of money, but much less than I would have had I had to go through an agency. But a neighbor who didn't really know me noticed I was in here alone, figured it out, and she has helped me for 5 weeks, coming over several times a day because I literally couldn't get out of bed much other than to use the restroom. And we had to do a commode by the bed. So um, anyway, I've now got this condition with my knee of, he said, a good 2 inches of scar tissue, which is actually not just scar tissue, but fibrotic scar tissue. It's what a doctor has stated is scar tissue on steroids, so it's extreme. Very fibrous, like a net, and solid. My knee is hard. You push on it, there's no dent. And it's double the size of my other knee. And um, the pain is quite something. And the surgeon said, nothing to be done about it. It will always be this way. Very stiff. It's hard when I get up. And the limping then hurts my back even more because I'm limping practically like someone with cerebral palsy or someone who can't keep their balance. But it's not constantly that way. So I am striving, and I have someone who's praying for me, that I'm dismissed from the doctor. I'm into a new physical therapist, but I don't know if he's even that aware of this condition or if he'll be very aggressive with it. I've purchased these things called cups. They're coming via Amazon to try to lift the skin that you can't even get any in a fingernail to pull up, because this 2 inches or more of fibrous scar tissue around covering my knee is going to get hard. Already the skin is adhered to it. You can't pull it up like a normal knee. You could get a little skin up, or even a lot. Um, so I'm in double the pain I was before, double the pain because of this knee. And I can get up, I can get it loosened up, and then walk better. Still hurts a lot, even on double pain meds. But if it's not loosened up, and it goes stiff again very easily, because that's how it is now. And when that scar tissue turns hard, that fibrotic tissue turns hard, it's going to be like cemented. So I'm doing all I can, researching online. Thank heavens for YouTube, and a wonderful PT back in Middleton, Ohio, who has lots of videos. I didn't realize I would have to study and learn how to do this myself by the grace of God. It's like this happens. I had to research after my pump surgery to find out what was the problem and how I could live with it, and came upon gastroparesis, and that kind of diet and eating is what is I'm living on. So, and it's all great for the spiritual life. All of this is. Even though Thursday I stuffed the news in when the surgeon told me this, dismissed me, nothing more can be done. Nothing. And you'll always have this. Your knee's always going to be like this. After I went through all this suffering of the knee surgery and costs that I still have to pay, everyone's saying you're going to be so glad you had this done, because it was getting down to the point I could barely walk, bone on bone. So all of that is gone. No, I'm not going to. Barring, I'll try everything I can. I have for about another 3.5 weeks to really work on this before it's sort of too late. Um, and then I'll have to figure out how I'm going to manage, because my money has gone down. My base has gone down drastically, um, and the housing market has slumped because of all my health issues that came up. And then I had bad employees here. I never thought I would here. I thought it would be better than the island. But no, I have people who don't do good work or lie, don't have experience when they say they do. So I've lost a lot of money, but God always comes through for me. I did fortunately find a very good electrician. Yes, he cost, but he had to fix all that the bad electrician had done, who had duped me. So it's it's a trial all the time, but I'm always learning. And with this knee surgery, I felt like I could barely get through it. I have never been so low. And so it wasn't depression. My pain doctor says, "Are you depressed?" I said, "No, it's something deeply spiritual." I said, "Something that God wants of me or is doing with my life." But I said, "It's horrible. It's the worst thing I've been through, especially, physically also." And this was before I found out about my knee that it's going to be like this. But I I started getting insights and understood that my attitude, my positive, had been stripped down. And so I've done a lot of research, a lot of praying. I've gotten insights from the Holy Spirit and the Virgin Mary on and people on what we need to be doing with our attitude, which is a gift from God given us at birth. We have attitude. It's not the same as disposition, but similar, often gets interchanged. But attitude is different, and it's only for our temporal life. It's a tool, it's a gem and a tool to utilize. But we have to strengthen it, keep it strengthened, nurture it, and sustain it. And usually there's three elements that are very temporal, and the fourth element is all but forgotten. I don't even find it online when I research the word, even. So I had thought, well, maybe I could write a book on this and include examples and include even what I've gone through and how my attitude suffered because I wasn't even thinking in terms of attitude or nurturing it. And all of these circumstances in my life, including my adult children, who we had always thought, yes, I'm a hermit, but I would be there for them. Hermits are not recluses, and we don't shirk hospitality or responsibilities. But they're living their adult lives, so it's not like they need me for anything whatsoever. But we still had connection and communication now and then, and I could call upon them or they could call upon me. Those were three people I had always, from when we all talked and they agreed, yes, do this, follow this vocation path, that they would still be never cut off from me. However, God has worked it, and it's been going on off and on for 10 years, that they have more and more distanced, and part of it comes down to my suffering that they grew up with, and uh, um, part of it, then the continuing suffering. It triggers them back. Just, I think, being around me or thinking of me even. And then all the scenarios that I get into that are sort of beyond normal. People have commented, called me a lightning rod for trouble. It's one thing after another. If they're spiritual and I know them well enough, I can say the devil beats on me. The devil is constantly beating on me. And then God is always there. But to help me and to pull me out, all the while I'm learning. I'm learning. My soul is being developed, my virtues strengthened, my flaws being very much exposed so that I can see them then and strive. And also, I'm being prepared to die, to let go. I have thought with my children being more distanced or detached themselves extremely. Oh, it's been painful. It's been so painful to have that kind of detachment, even to disrespect and some rudeness and not responding even or saying things to me, blaming, um, because I don't think they understand, and I didn't realize that they were young enough when the spouse left and terrible things that had gone on. They've blacked it out. They fortunately, I don't want them to remember, but it's put me in a different light in their minds, and questioning decisions or different things that we had to do um, based on God guiding me and the former spouse wanting me dead. So, and doing things that were dangerous and also some terrible things to two of the children. So, um, but I don't want to bring those back up. They've buried them, and that's psychologists said that is the very best. And hope and pray that it never comes up. They never remember. However, then here I am with all these troubles and um, a valid reason why I would try to renovate because it's excellent for me. It forces me up. That does too. But even that stopped being a motivator because the pain has become so powerful over my body and my mind. But anyway, just a lot has happened. And I would like to write that book. If any of you have any ideas or experiences with attitude, positive or negative, or tips, ways in which you think that we can temporally and spiritually both um, increase our positivity, and especially in spiritual ways, because even my pain doctor, we discussed it. He's a Christian and likes to talk about these things. But there's such an emphasis on positive thinking. Um, if you can think it and keep it positive, you can make it happen. And that's just not really the case. I'm a point. I could lay here and think and think and think. My knee's going to go down. This 2 inches of fibrous scar tissue is going to go away, or it's not going to increase. I don't know. It might increase even, since the surgeon says a lot of it was my body producing it. But I also have read it could be that I couldn't move that much at first because of this overload of spine pain plus knee pain. So, and anyway, and nobody had given me a tip. I had no one, the PA at the hospital, how to get your leg in and out of the bed when the block wears off. I was screaming and crying, trying to get that leg into bed. The pain was unworldly. So, or too worldly maybe. Anyway, that's the update. But leave comments, leave your ideas, or email or something. Um, Relative to positive attitude and how we can increase it and nurture it and sustain it. Sustaining it's a big deal. And of course, a key that I found was we have to ask God for help. And I've asked and I've been given a lot of help, and including some tips that I hope to share either with you guys or in a book. I thought maybe if I wrote something I could sell, I could earn some income. I'm going to need some income. I just am. Um, Even if I sell this as is, if I don't improve enough to gimp around and try to work on it myself more. But it's about half done. It's pretty well torn up. So if I sell it as is, I'm going to lose. I won't have a base. Apartments are so expensive to rent, double my house payments. So you see the pickle I'm in with that, with the temporal world. But God's going to provide for me. He always does. And it'll work out. But we have to keep our mind on that reality and our faith and our hope. And when when the attitude becomes neutral or negative or stripped is neutral, it's not positive. And it's not only a dark night of the senses, but also a dark night of the soul, both combined. And then the physical body, when that is pretty much taken. I didn't have my wonderful manual labor, even the simple stuff I would do to distract my mind from pain. So I have to develop other means of distracting from pain. And so, anyway, pray for me. I'll pray for you. Leave whatever comments and ideas. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And God bless His real presence in us.